It's the Reform or Die podcast, where nothing is off limits and everything must be reformed.
All right. Welcome back.
Hello, Kyle. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for not introing this one the same way you did last week. I appreciate that. It was very nice of you. Don't even say it. Don't say it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but whatever.
So in interesting things this week, I learned a new term. There's internet slang is a thing, apparently. And there's this term called Looksmaxxing. I don't know. Have you guys heard of this?
Yes.
Okay, Thatcher knows. Thatcher's looks maxed out. I don't know. Can you say it like that?
Thatcher is a proponent of Looksmaxxing, I believe.
If this is the peak,
Bro
I'm in
is
trouble.
seriously Looksmaxxing right now.
Yeah,
He hits the gym before he comes to the podcast. You know, he's got to be at tip-top shape of his game.
Not tonight, though.
it is. I do think it is like this broader subculture of weird slang that nobody understands. I don't even think the people who come up with it understand it. Like the whole Looksmaxxing, mogging, mewing. I don't get it.
Yeah, I saw something about the whole mogging one, which I guess is just like trying to make someone feel inferior or something with whatever the thing is. I don't know. So Chris Hemsworth went on Theo Vaughn's podcast, and they were just saying that basically he just mogged him to death basically on his own podcast because he's, Chris Hemsworth. He looks amazing.
Yeah, he doesn't even have to say anything. He's
He
kinda,
just sits there and it's like, dude.
No disrespect to Theo Vaughn. It's not that.
Who's a decent looking,
not that hard.
looking guy.
He's a funny guy. I'm not gonna say he's a great guy. He's a funny guy. But yeah, he's definitely a redneck.
Yeah, he's got the redneck thing.
He's
going.
a redneck guy.
I don't watch his content too much, but he has a big channel on YouTube.
Yeah, he's funny.
Maybe it just reminds me too much of myself, because I think to myself when I'm gonna say something like because he does a lot of those when he's trying to think about something political or whatever. He's like, I'm like, yeah, that's probably me too, honestly. Just kind of doing the long pauses before I say whatever I'm gonna say.
His interview with Donald Trump was really funny. I don't know if either of you guys
I
saw
saw
that.
a couple of clips of that.
Was Trump on his pod?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, before the
I invited
election.
Trump on our pod. He hasn't taken us up on it yet.
Well,
Did you actually? Hey,
Oh yeah, send an email every day in the
every
morning.
day. We'll
Say,
see.
You never
JD,
know.
Trump, we need you.
I need you right now. Please come on our wonderful
Little
podcast.
Marco, we'll even take little Marco after his amazing speech. That's definitely something we should mention. That speech was incredible. I've not watched the full thing yet, but people are saying it's like the best speech they've listened to in like 20 years.
I didn't hear it.
Oh, you haven't heard this?
I saw a couple of clips and it was really good from what I saw.
Yeah, like I guess he was kind of basically saying something effective like, I don't know. I didn't listen to much at all, but it was kind of the idea of like, we're trying to help Europe out a little bit by kind of showing them a little bit of their weaknesses. It's like, we came from y'all and, we would love that if the cradle of the civilization, does not break down basically. And I think it was somewhat immigration related, right? That he had some notes on that. Like, you guys are killing your amazing countries by importing people from countries that don't share your culture or your values, and that's just destroying you from the inside out, which is happening here.
Yeah, there was I was interacting with someone who is British, which I know very cringe to talk to a British person, but he was talking about their new I guess far right party that's kind of rising up.
Brits.
Yeah. And apparently they're getting a lot of support. They're doing very well. That doesn't mean that they'll get elected. They, a bunch of votes could just show up in the middle of the night and they don't get elected. Their party leaders could be come down with, horrible illnesses before the election. You never really know. But there is a very strong movement to kind of consider the whole re-immigration thing.
Remigration.
Yeah, which not just for not just for illegal immigrants either. I think they're wanting to reconsider some of the people that they've let in legally, which is a lot. But some of them it's probably not wise to let some of those people in, because it seems like there were some ulterior motives to letting these people in.
Assimilation isn't happening. They don't share the culture and values, and they're not assimilating into the country. So you're essentially just bringing in people that disagree with you on core values, and that generally never goes well, right? So
Exactly. Well, that's why you have to have that set in place before you allow immigration to come in. So if you take a country, like the U.S., and you get them all divided, and then they're like, yeah, let's just bring in a bunch of immigrants, there's a bunch of people that want to come in, and we don't have a set standard for the way we want to live life in this country, then it's going to be overrun.
What was the country in Europe to the east? I can't remember who had all the politicians that got killed during the right-wing politicians that were just killed before their elections. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Wasn't that Germany?
I think it was Germany. Like
AFD?
I don't remember if it was AFD. Yeah,
I think it was
and a bunch of them
AFD.
just mysteriously died before their elections. It was like 5 or 6 or 7 of them.
I think some of them went to prison.
Some went to prison.
Yeah.
Some got arrested.
Like recently?
Within like the last year or so. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, it's so
Crazy.
hilarious to me because the AFD party is like the far right party in Germany, and everyone's trying to compare them to Nazis, just like they do with, the American conservatives. But the AFD, if you like brought one of them over here to the United States, they're like basically libertarians. They're kind of just like centrist, maybe center right.
Yeah.
They're not
Europe's
they're
moved
not
so
extreme.
far left that right is just like a joke almost. Yeah. There's a tweet I read this week. It was just some random channel, but it said, being awake means having to dumb down 98% of your conversations every day so you don't sound like a lunatic. And sometimes when we talk about these things, I'm kind of like, I sound like a crazy person talking about politicians that were murdered before their elections over there or framed or whatever. It's like,
That's what
gosh,
they
you sound
want
like
you to do.
You sound like an insane person. But it's
Well,
happening.
that's a valid strategy. If they make it crazy enough, then if you like attempt to see the pattern and say, hey, this is fishy, they'll just say, no, you're crazy, bro. Like in Mexico with their recent, it was probably like 2 years ago now, but
I
think
lot
they had
of
like
politicians are
23
killed in Mexico, which is crazy to think about.
yeah, I think they had like 23 candidates murdered. There's some number, very high number of them that were murdered right before the election.
It's crazy, honestly, how much happens in these other places you don't think about. But I guess we've had mysterious disappearances like Seth Rich and others that just poof gone, over here. But he wasn't really a politician. But, we're getting conspiratorial there. So
See, that's the thing. They put the conspiracy word out there too.
right, I'm
just
like,
to make
maybe we should shy away from this one.
Nah, bro. Get conspiratorial.
Pizzagate, Pizzagate's basically been confirmed at this point. I mean, on all the crazy stuff with Epstein. But we said we wouldn't talk too much about Epstein today. But I definitely still feel like I was talking to my friends, said, what's the over under that your pastor's going to mention the Satanist pedivores ruling our government? And everyone was like, they'll never mention it. And sure enough, no mention, which we love our pastor. We support our pastors. We love them. But we really do want them to keep speaking out on this stuff, because I think the church could easily do a prayer and fast to just expose and pray for the exposing of, these groups that and just the connections that are deep into our government that have to do with that stuff. So
Not even exposing, just for justice to be served.
yes,
I
and
mean,
for arrests, 100%. Yeah, exposing is first, but I mean, it doesn't change if no one goes to jail or is.
Exactly.
It sounds crazy, but I am pro public executions for people who are hurting kids like that. Like, I think it should be, if not public, it should 100% be you lose your life over,
Yeah.
doing that to
I
children.
think public is acceptable.
I am there, and actually they said polling. I like following Mark Mitchell on his stuff. He's the Rasmussen Reports guy, but he was saying support for like executions has gone from like 15 points to like 40 points. It's like it's risen a ton in the last few years or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I can see that. People want justice, man. They want it bad.
The thing that makes me hesitant about public executions is you're going to get people that just want the fame of being publicly executed. It's
scary.
sick.
You're right. That is scary.
I mean, that's, I don't know.
Jacob's
You're
like,
gonna get that
whatever.
anyways.
I think The problem with that is like we've had public executions in this country and in other countries for most of history. It was a very common thing. And I'd wager to say that crime rates were significantly lower when we had public executions because people, you can't walk through town without seeing a man hanging there. And, maybe he has a sign on him for what he did. And you kind of just know, man, I probably shouldn't do the thing that led him to be displayed in the street by a noose.
It's a teaching tool.
Yeah.
It is.
People are visual learners.
Yeah. Yes.
Would you say we're more messed up now than we were in the past?
I think people are more willing to commit heinous crimes because they know there's really no consequences. I mean, what? You go to prison for life? Maybe. You'll probably get parole.
Meals a day?
You get free meals. Yeah. And
free
really,
room and
it's
board?
like, that is not justice. That's not good for anybody. It's not good for the people who were harmed. It's not good for the people who committed the action. The good and just thing for them and their soul is to be executed, to have to contemplate why they did what they did, face that justice right there. I feel like that's the more compassionate thing to do for that person. Sounds crazy, but
yeah, well, and I think there's, if I remember learning stuff at my liberal arts college, which I've forgotten now, but one of the ones of justice was like retributive justice, basically is an attribute of justice or type of justice. And, family that lose someone to a murder, they want retribution. They want payback, basically. And it may not be the most important one of them all, but it's certainly one that you want to have that sort of payment, if you will, back.
Yeah. And I think honestly, a culture that does not exercise capital punishment for these heinous acts, it's a non-biblical culture. It's an anti-biblical culture because our government is supposed to wield the sword, right?
Yeah.
God
mercy
puts
to
them
criminals is how's it go? Mercy to criminals is generosity to the evildoer. Or yeah, I get it. I got it backwards, but yeah, you get the point.
Yeah, I'm not sure you lost me there.
Yeah, I lost you. Darn.
Yeah,
I'm having a Theo Vaughn moment.
But it is, I think that's one of the many things. And I know there's a lot of counterpoints to that. Like, well, what if they get the wrong person and, we end up executing people who didn't commit any crimes? I think that's a little overblown. I think that's kind of an extreme argument. And then people will point to, oh, well, there is this person who was acquitted. They were on death row for 15 years and they were acquitted. And that means they're innocent. A lot of these, I'm just going to say this with no research into the topic. A lot of people that end up getting acquitted for crimes, whatever, after the fact, 15, 20, 30 years after the fact, it's not necessarily saying that they didn't do it. It's just saying, oh, this piece of evidence that we used to convict you was not actually substantial and we're going to let you out now. That doesn't even mean that they didn't do it. So I don't know how I feel about the whole idea of like, oh, all the innocent people that are going to get executed because of increase, like basically being more strict with capital punishment. I don't know if I buy that.
There are a decent amount of Christians that don't think capital punishment is biblical. What do you think, Thatcher?
Open the Bible.
I mean, I think from the Bible, and I'm not, an expert on this topic in the Bible, but yeah, I think it is biblical.
Okay. Where did it get instituted? Do you know? See, I'm quizzing you guys now. I don't actually know. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is true, but you at home with the Bible can go fact check me. It was after Noah. That's where, because remember with Cain and Abel, Cain was afraid that they would seek retribution, and that God put a mark on him saying no one's allowed to kill Cain, even though he killed Abel, right? But then at the time of Noah, capital punishment was instituted. I think it's like Genesis, I don't know where it is.
I would argue capital punishment was instituted the fall of man in the Garden of Eden, right? We were condemned to death at that point.
Well, sure. Yeah, I guess you're right. From a spiritual perspective,
I mean, which is more severe than, a physical death is the eternal separation from God. But yeah, it's all over the scripture. And, the Bible is prescriptive and descriptive, but I think it's pretty clear that it is
So here you
something
go.
that is is a just biblical standard
I
to hold
will
to.
give you the biblical standard here in Genesis 9. This is, I believe it's after the flood here, and it says, "And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground and all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. And for your lifeblood I will require a reckoning. From every beast I will require it, and from every man." So this is the key here. It says, "From his fellow man I will require a reckoning for the life of man." And then verse 6 is, "Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God made man in his own image." And then it says, "And you be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly on the earth and multiply in it." So Genesis 9:6, "Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God made man in his own image." So I think
Pretty compelling.
that's where you get it, basically. But I think before that, it was not explicitly condoned in Scripture. In fact, I think God was protecting people like Cain, and I guess you can imagine why. There's not a lot of people around. Maybe in the early days, right? You don't have a lot of people to spare.
Yeah.
Once people start killing each other, you're like, we kind of need one of our 5 people on the planet. But I don't know. Maybe that's not actually biblical. But it's a Kyle reasoning going on here, so forgive me.
You got to put out the Kyle Study Bible.
Yeah, that Kyle SV,
So capital punishment, government executing person for their crimes. That government.
Oh, there.
Yeah, there is that saying it wants the government to enact an execution.
I think it gets
on a
modified
person.
down the road, right? I think some of the laws that are given later.
Because the principle is there. you
Yeah,
know?
the principle is there, and it essentially sets up the idea there. But yeah, you're right. It does get fleshed out a little bit more later on.
You could also argue it's justification for something like self-defense, right? If someone seeks to take your life,
Yeah.
I mean, it's maybe not
make an argument
explicit
like
there.
that.
I know that in I can't remember which would it be in Deuteronomy, maybe
One of those.
one of those
early
Old
books?
Testament books, one of those early books where it's talking about different case law kind of examples for kind of talking about God's law. If someone comes into your house at night, you can strike them down and you will not be punished for it. That kind of deal. It's a paraphrase, but I think there's. Yeah, I think those two things kind of go hand in hand. But when someone is when someone has committed a crime like that, I think the correct thing to do is a trial, right? Not like a long drawn out trial that takes 50 years, sitting on death row, but a swift trial. And if they're found guilty, that they would be executed. I think that's like the biblical thing. That is the loving thing for all people, all parties involved.
Yeah, it's just not a topic everyone likes to think
That's
about
okay.
because it is I guess you could call it a hard teaching. I consider it merciful because you're punishing the wicked, right? And that's what we need. That's what we need in society, right? God has instituted government to be the sword and punisher of the wicked, not to punish the righteous, which is unfortunately what often happens with governments, is they reward the wicked because people get in power who are wicked, right? That's why we're praying and, calling on our Christian leaders to sort of help us try to expose. And I pray for arrests and I pray for justice, So those are that kind of thing. But yeah, we did want to talk also about another topic that only Jacob knows about, a secret topic.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring this up, and we're gonna get a live reaction from
because we know nothing
Kyle
about
and
it.
Thatcher. But I think it's an important story. I think it probably hits close to home to a lot of people who are, Protestants and in the Midwest and probably in the whole country. So there's a camp in Missouri, Christian camp.
Oh, it's in Missouri.
Yeah, it's called Camp Kanakuk.
I feel like, have I been there? I might,
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
It's been around for a really long time. I don't know all the specific details, but it's been around for a very long time. It's a huge money-making operation. It's a big deal, and a lot of people have gone. I know people who have gone. I know people who have worked there as counselors.
Christian camp, right?
Yes, but it's been around for quite a while. Recently, I was listening to the Sean Ryan show, which I like Sean Ryan show quite a bit. I think a lot of the guests he has on are very
It's
very eye-opening. I know he creeps you out.
Yeah, it creeps me out, man. It's the lighting. It's so dark. It's so dark,
he's
and,
doing
and they're
something
just so
right.
laid back, and it looks like vampire-like.
You gotta take a few notes, man.
Yeah, it just freaks me out. I don't know why. It's just a weird heebie-jeebie thing when I see it.
Yeah, he had an interview with a woman who I can't remember if she attended the camp or not, but her brother attended the camp. I think she did too. And basically what was going on at the camp is there was a pattern of sexual abuse happening, like a lot of it. And it was happening for years and years. One individual who I cannot remember his name for the life of me, I believe he's in prison now, but he had basically been abusing children, like tons of children, for like 20 years, 30 years, however long he was there before he was finally thrown in prison. There was even some instances where like the administration of the camp found out about this stuff, and they had to there's records of him going through I don't know what you would call it, like a performance and improvement program almost. They're like, you sign this document, and this document states you're not going to be in contact alone with any of the campers, and you're not going to have sleepovers with campers and all this stuff. But they knew this was going on, and they left this man in place. And one of the people who was abused at this camp was this lady's brother, and he had signed an NDA and been given money to not talk about it, which is common for their camp. And he ended up taking his own life. He was in a mental institution for a long time, ended up taking his own life. But this kind of I think this has been out for a little while, but having it on the Sean Ryan show kind of brought it to the forefront, kind of put a spotlight on it. And I think it's something we should be talking about, especially as Christians. Yes. I think this is something obviously, I'm not going to say that every Christian camp has this epidemic of sexual abuse happening, but it does happen. It happens everywhere.
Anywhere there's kids,
anywhere there are children. Yeah. Christian camps, there's no exception there. If it can happen, it probably will happen eventually. But people still send their kids to some of these places after the fact, after there's information out there about this happening.
Do you think they shouldn't?
No, I do not think they should.
Because of the revelations.
Yeah, I think there needs to be some kind of reckoning within the Christian community
to shut them down.
Yeah, shut down some of them, but there needs to be some reform in that aspect.
What would you?
Have you guys been to a Christian camp?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Christian camps growing up.
Yeah.
And they were a lot of fun.
It is.
Although I will say one of them I went to, side story really fast, had black mold in the cabins.
That's lovely.
I have never been sicker in my entire life after getting back from this Christian camp. My buddy who had asthma was almost dead. He went to the ER. It was insane how much black mold they had. I got home and I slept for 23 out of 24 hours. Straight.
Yeah.
It was unreal how sick we were from that cabin experience. So I've had good and bad experiences. They also, one tiny little rant. They had electric shock circles. Have you ever done this where you hold hands and then they run a current through you? I don't know. This was a thing.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, Kyle.
And yes. And then you have to someone will have to break their handhold. And then it's your group lost because someone else was able to withstand the electric shock longer. Yeah, that's the stuff we did at Christian camps. I don't remember any Bible verses.
Well, that's interesting. No, so I was going to say, I think camp can be a really beneficial thing for kids. I went to camp. It was
shockingly
good. There were a lot of things that were very beneficial for me in my walk, as a young Christian, right? But we cannot be naive with what the potential issues are there. And kind of like you were just talking about the black mold, there's also a lot of regulations in place, or lack of regulations in place for Christian camps because they're religious exemptions, to where they can kind of get by doing a lot of stuff that is probably not for the best, like safety.
People just aren't checking up on stuff.
Yeah, just a lot of safety issues. I believe that kind of ties into that, that girls' camp that got flooded in Texas.
Oh,
Same kind of deal there. They didn't have stuff in place that they should have had in place.
that was a crazy flash flood, right?
Well, they knew they had warning about it. Like if they had an evacuation plan,
Then they would have followed
they
it.
could have
Yeah,
followed
you're
it.
right.
But their plan was shelter in place.
Yeesh.
But there has to be
And they were in a valley too, right?
there's certain I'm all for a church being able to operate separate from the government and be able to maintain its traditions, right, and customs. But I don't think you can use that as an excuse to just neglect common sense safety measures for those kinds of institutions, and also to almost use that as a way to hide systematic abuse of children.
Right.
Like,
Well, no one wants that.
No one wants that. But that's like it's kind of like the stereotype, right? Of specifically like the Catholic Church. Everyone's always like, oh, the Catholic Church, all the priests are, doing stuff with the boys. We should strive to make that stereotype as far from the truth as possible.
I agree.
I feel like we have a higher burden, right? We have a higher standard that we have to aspire to, and we need to be aware of this, right? Everyone should know about this story. Everyone who's ever sent their kid to a Christian camp or is thinking about sending their kid to a Christian camp should know about this, because if that kind of stuff just stays silent, these people will just keep getting away with this stuff.
There's a level of awareness that Christians need to have for these kinds of events, and know what's going on around you, and whether it's for your kids or someone you're aware of what's up.
Yeah. And you are, even if you're sending your kid off to a Christian camp or you're putting them in the kids ministry at your church or whatever, you are ultimately responsible for your child's safety.
I feel like
as a parent, you have to kind of ensure that your child is going to be taken care of. I like the way our church does it. I mean, they make, if you serve in a ministry like that at our church, you have to have a background check done, right? They make sure that they're not bringing in people who are nefarious actors, which I really appreciate that. There's a lot of policies in place of they don't want one person alone with a child. That just doesn't happen. So I think that's good. And not every church is like that. And not every camp is like that. And I think it's just something we as Christians need to do better. We have to do better.
Well, and some of it is things that should be mentioned from the pulpit or from your pastor during the week on like an update or something like that, I think. I mean, Why wouldn't we talk about that kind of stuff? Like, it's important that we condemn very ferociously any kind of behavior at a Christian organization that's like that.
I think we should be the first ones to be doing it, not like the secular news, right?
Right.
We should be the ones who are like, hey, this is absolutely wrong. Like this, you're going to stand before God one day and have to answer for this, the way you shepherded your flock or the way you treated those children. And it all ties in nicely with the whole conversation we were having earlier. You know, when these things are found out, we have to seek justice. We cannot just don't do that again. We can't just put someone on a plan to correct their action. No, this is serious.
Yeah, and I think it goes to the idea of, even if it's religiously incorrect, I'll say, not politically incorrect in this case, but religiously it's incorrect, right? Oh, we don't criticize our own teams. Like, yeah, we absolutely do, because these people aren't on our team, right? These are horrible people that have forfeited their life, and a lot of times when they're doing this stuff to kids.
It's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, if not lifetime in jail. I think I'd probably support the death penalty for people who do really harmful stuff to kids. I'm pretty much there, but
yeah. And now is my time to drop the bomb that it won't affect. I'm fairly certain it will not affect us. But Sean Ryan's being sued by that camp now because he talked about it.
Really?
They're trying to sue him and have him make a public statement to recant everything they said.
Christians.
A public apology. A Christian, and I'm doing the quotation marks.
Yeah, okay.
A Christian camp
Air quotes.
is trying to sue him for basically exposing this huge scandal.
But it was true.
Yeah.
People are in prison for it.
And a lot of the facts that he's stating facts that are public record, but he's saying that they're trying to say that it is defamation.
Oh, I thought you were saying this stuff happened this week.
No, this didn't happen this week.
This has been talked about this week.
It wasn't even this week. This was talked about a while ago. Sean Ryan came out with a video recently addressing the lawsuit, which was probably a week ago.
I see. So Sean Ryan's kind of brought it back into the news cycle.
Which shout out to Sean Ryan.
You're okay.
I'm a big Sean Ryan fan. He's not perfect. He's claiming to be a Christian. Praise God. I'm happy to see that. There's people who are.
I didn't know he claimed to be a Christian.
Yeah, he's a professed Christian. He's not perfect, like all of us. None of us are perfect, but
you're pretty close.
He's out there. That's
right, Thatcher.
That's right.
But he's out there. Right. He's out there in his own imperfect way, trying to follow Christ and trying to do what's right and exposing evil. And I think that's great. I would love to see. Once again, we always come back to this. I would love to see pastors from the pulpit following that, set the example.
We want them engaging with us on these issues. It would be really cool to see them chiming in on social media and stuff too. Hey, we're all following news stories, but maybe it's not your head pastor that does it. Maybe it's the administrative pastor that does it. I don't know. The guy who's doing the announcements is also tweeting or something.
Maybe it's a couple of young guys, that get on there for the church and just start calling stuff out.
They get deputized.
That's what we're doing. We're doing that right now. They didn't ask us to do this, but we're doing it anyway.
Jacob, Thatcher, and Kyle, self-deputized.
And Barry. Barry's not here though.
Yeah, Barry. We are missing Barry. That's true.
But it's not something that should be you can call that stuff out from the pulpit because it's pure evil. Yeah. There should not be any pushback to it.
There's no gray area.
Yeah, there is absolutely no gray area. And if people have a problem with it, people that are in your church, maybe they need to find a new church because, I'm not saying that they're not a Christian, but it's you're calling out pure evil for what it is. That should be accepted across the board in any religious setting if it's immoral.
Yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily be Christian stuff specific. This week there were 2 shootings, right? The trans shootings.
Yeah, so there was one in Canada that was at a school. It was an individual who had transitioned at the age of 12. And then yeah, and that was that person went to the school and killed quite a few kids and then himself as well. And then the other one was at a hockey game, I believe, in Rhode Island. And that was, I think the nature of that one was more of a domestic situation because the individual, also trans, ended up taking the life of 2 of his family members and then turning the gun on himself. But yeah, we need to be aware of this. We need to call it out. Some people don't know about this stuff because they're just not keeping track of it. But we need to we cannot be afraid to call out evil in this world.
Yes.
We have to call out evil in this world.
I still go back to, I love that that's what Charlie did. He was Charlie Kirk. He was all the time bringing up stuff that were, it's hey, we're out here watching this stuff happen. We're watching all this stuff in the news, all the time. It has changed, I remember when I was a kid, my parents were the news is so negative all the time. And I'm yeah, there's a lot of that, but there is some level of, hey, eventually you kind of have to talk about some of this stuff here or there. It's not like every sermon's just dominated by this stuff, but we want to see justice, and it's something to be aware of. It's my understanding of transitioning drugs is it's basically chemical castration a lot of the time. So, these kids are not, you can't make that decision as a child, and your parents shouldn't be making that decision for you. It's just evil. So I don't know. That's my take, but
we don't allow kids to get behind a wheel legally until 16 in the States?
Yeah.
But they can change their gender at 7 years old.
Well, then they're angry. They're going through transitions in their own, hormones and everything. You throw a cocktail of SSRIs and different drugs at them, and it's man, of course there's going to be crazy results that come from that. So, and we are seeing, I think, a rise in trans violence. So it's just something to be aware of, and it's something that we should investigate more and just be aware of it. I think.
Not encourage for our young population.
We started off with Looksmaxxing, and here we are now talking about trans violence at the end. So
It's all, I mean, those two things are, I would say the transgender phenomenon and the Looksmaxxing thing are kind of like two sides of the same coin.
Oh, really?
It's like the same thing. It's vanity at the end of the day. It's like some kind of, it has to do with your self-image, right? You don't feel comfortable with your image, and you are going to you're going to go to radical measures to change your image and to change the way people perceive you, whether it's having surgeries to remove your genitals or hitting yourself in the face with a hammer to build up your jaw structure.
I was going to say, I have the hammer on order from Amazon.
Yeah,
and the
you shouldn't do
peptides
that.
are on the way. So I don't know. Was that bad? Should I not be doing that?
We should not be doing that. I think it all kind of comes down to this almost obsession with.
Thatcher's so confused right now. He has no idea what you just
The
said.
hammer. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So that clavicular guy, he hits himself in the jaw, like in the bones with a hammer to
Along the
cause
bone,
little.
along the cheeks to make it pronounced.
That guy doesn't have the backbone to do that to himself. He's not actually doing that. There's
he
no
is.
way.
He is.
He might show it for a video. He's not doing that. He's probably just got
Thatcher,
injections.
you underestimate the Looksmaxxing crowd.
just
Thatcher, I
don't
thought
even
you were
get
part
it.
of the Looksmaxxing crowd. What's wrong with you right now?
Thatcher's just-
You don't have a hammer at home that you're smacking your
Natural.
jaw with? Like,
He's gifted like that.
bro is committed. I think you might need to step up your Looksmaxxing game.
No,
I
no,
probably
no.
did. Yeah,
That is not
it's
the message.
impossible, though.
Oh, right.
That is not the message
That's
at
the wrong-
all.
You're right. That's the wrong message.
No,
My
at the
bad.
end of the day,
These
it's
are
like
jokes.
You're
These are
perfect
jokes.
the way you are, right?
We are the way that God makes us, right? And there's certain factors like your bone structure and your gender and how tall you are. Those are facts of who you are, right?
Unless you're Kylie Jenner, and then you can shave your cheekbones down a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't know if we should be doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
I
an
just don't
interesting
think that's
question.
good. I think it's all kind of it's vanity and it's seeking the approval of others, and that's not where we should be focusing. There's other aspects, like if you're severely overweight, you can do something about that, and that's not a vain thing to do to lose weight. That's actually a good thing to do. You are taking care of your body because it is the one body. Well, for now, we have
Until we get another one.
until we have a resurrected. Yeah. But I just think people have gone down that rabbit hole on all sides of the spectrum. And some people think, well, this kind is acceptable, but this kind isn't. But it's all kind of the same thing. It's all the same thing. And it's really, I think it's just a symptom of a lack of reliance on God, right?
I think that sounds right. So I should be canceling my Amazon package then? That's on the way?
Your hammer? I mean, you could use it to hang up some pictures.
Bro, I'm just trying to get a first date so it's like, if I have to take a hammer to my jawline, then I guess that's what you got to do to get that first date. So,
Man.
Whatever makes you happy, Kyle. Live your truth, okay?
I'm kidding. All right, we're kidding, everyone. We're kidding, just kidding. But yeah, no.
I don't think Kyle's kidding.
I'm gonna be looking like clavicular in 6 months from now. You guys are I'm gonna mog you so hard at church. I'm gonna go to a different church for 6 months, and then I'm gonna show back up, and you're gonna be like, "What the heck happened to Kyle? Dude looks like
Giga Chad.
yeah, he's totally mogging us right now."
I saw some videos approaching somebody, like 3 or 4 girls, and they all just kind of like, no, we're good. And he just walks away kind of stunned. I don't know if that was true or not, but that's the video I saw. It's dumb.
You can try all you want, man, but some things I just think are not worthy of pursuing.
Because he's got the natural, rugged good looks, and he just everywhere he goes, people are like, wow, what a good looking guy.
What a
guy.
guy.
He doesn't have to take a hammer to his jawline.
Actually, I don't
He
hear
is
that
the
very.
hammer.
I don't hear that very much, and it's mostly from other guys, which I think I should be concerned. I think I should be concerned about
Careful,
that.
you're on the podcast now.
Yeah, I know.
And now on video too, so people
Yeah,
can get it.
right. Oh, no.
We're not going to release the video
I
right now.
forgot.
so
Yeah.
Thatcher's
My
gonna
bad.
go post it online right after this. So we didn't know.
But Yeah, I think this is.
Any closing thoughts? Anything else?
I think this is a good discussion. I think
We're not Looksmaxxing. I think that was
no.
the final word.
No Looksmaxxing, no transition.
Marco Rubio is also not Looksmaxxing. We just know he's speech maxing.
Yeah.
Holy maxing.
Holy maxing.
Don't abuse children. And if you know that people are doing it, call it out.
Yes.
And if people in your organization are doing it and someone calls you out, don't sue them. All of those, that's just not good.
Well, I'm pretty sure in the Bible you're not supposed to sue another believer, right? It says better to, I don't know, maybe that's a topic for another time, but
Probably a topic for another time. Just don't do it.
Just don't even think about it.
Like, root out the evil. We don't need that in our community.
Thatcher, closing thoughts?
No, I don't have anything tonight. Sorry.
All right. I know that I'll be canceling that Amazon package thanks to Jacob's good advice today.
Trust the Lord.
You're welcome.
All right. Until next time.